Welcome to Luxury Institute's podcast. I'm Milton Pedraza, Luxury Institute CEO.
And I'm Katie Sousa, Senior Consultant, Client Relationships and Projects. Well, we made it to chapter 3 of our latest podcast series, Extraordinary Customer Experiences, or ECEs. In our last episode, we defined ECEs and covered rare ECEs in particular. So specifically talking about brands like Cartier, Brunello Cucinelli, and Aman, how they create rare, extraordinary customer experiences. Today, we plan to cover the everyday ECEs. So think the emotional intelligence driven, meticulous attention to detail, highly personalized moments that inspire deep human connection and joy on a daily basis. We'll talk about the differences in everyday ECEs, some of the missed opportunities to create them, and how fear plays a significant role. We plan to share several stories today, but we'd love to hear yours. So whether you've delivered, received, or witnessed an extraordinary customer experience, please share your story with us. You can do so in the comments, or you can contact us at luxuryinstitute.com. So Milton, today, we plan to decipher the difference between everyday ECEs, but there are two different types of ECEs. As we were preparing for today's podcast, we identified that there are two kinds. There are the consistently done everyday ECEs, and then there are the ECEs that are done every day that are highly personalized. They're different by person. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, great point, Katie. I mean, there are those things that hotels, stores, real estate agents do that are done for everyone, and they're great courtesies and gestures. For example, you can send a thank you note to someone who rejects you with the hope that they will come back if in case the other party that they've chosen doesn't serve them well. And we taught real estate agents to do that, and they've been very successful because 10 to 15% of the people do come back if when the client decides not to go with you, you are gracious and kind, wish them the best, and remind them that you're always here to serve them. So that's one example. The other one that I've experienced at the Ritz-Carlton is that they always have a birthday cake and balloons whenever I go there for my birthday, and I know that they do it for guests when they know the birthday. So that's a standard, beautiful gesture. Another one at the Ritz-Carlton and other hotels is that they'll have a toy or a teddy bear or a giraffe for the kids whenever they know that a small child is coming, and they just have a beautiful toy for them. And it can vary, but that also is a standard. We knew a top associate at Brioni who would religiously send Christmas cards, birthday cards every year, even though it was a client who may not have bought a lot. She did this for all her clients. And many times those clients, in a way, felt guilty and came back and bought, or their wives said, what's going on here? You're getting cards from this woman. And then when they explained, it's just a sales associate, I never bought a lot, honey. The wife would say, now you are going to go buy because this lady's been so loyal to you over the last few years. How dare you not buy? So these can turn into very positives. Obviously, when you go to restaurants and hotels where they're serving food, they tend to know your allergies and preferences. I've had that at the old Palm Beach, where they will remind me when I arrive, Mr. Pedraza, we know that you have certain allergies, and so we'll make sure that your food doesn't contain any of that. Or when I go to a hotel, let's say like the Westin Grand Central, where I go religiously, they will always have 3 pillows on each side of the bed, and they're down pillows, and they might throw an extra pillow. They put extra water in the fridge. So those are very standard, let's call them ECEs, that can consistently be done for everyone, either as a standard, ECE for everyone, or they'll tweak it a little bit for you because you're a known client. And that is, as you like to say, Katie, is the show me, you know me. But then there are other everyday, highly personalized and different experiences per person. So why don't you share some of those, please?
So for example, within the Ritz-Carlton, for high net worth clients who are at club level, we've heard that they might have a very specific breakfast planned for them, right? The chef knows exactly what they eat for breakfast, where it's plated on the plate, exactly the seating that they want to have when they actually come to stay at the hotel. So to me, those are highly personalized and different by person. The execution behind it is highly personalized. Maybe the elements of it are consistently done, yet the way that they do it is very specific. Another might be an example, within hospitality at the Four Seasons or the Ritz-Carlton, saving the space at the pool. If you're a consistent guest, they know that you like those two seats that are closest to the water. You can see the beach from that particular area, and having an associate, a concierge out there waiting for you with towels, with the drink of your choice, ready to make sure that you're comfortable and happy when you arrive at your seat. So again, can be consistently done, but the way that it's done is very specific. Even for myself, when living in Palm Beach, I am a collector of Osceoline books. And a colleague of mine happened to notice the fact that I am a huge Osceoline book lover. So as a going away gift, they provided me with a Palm Beach monogrammed book. It was engraved in gold with my initials on the book. So do I think that that's something that they do for every client? Maybe. Is it something that they can do every day? Yes, but it was highly personal to me because of the book selection and because of how it was monogrammed and the great note that was provided. So it just goes to show that everyday ECs can consistently be done, but the way that they are executed is highly different, and that is what differentiates them on a personal level. But Milton, a thought here, and we go back and forth on this from time to time. Do you feel that everyday ECs are now the standard?
Well, I think that once you create the expectation that when I go on my birthday, I'm going to get a cake or at least a slice and, a nice celebration and happy birthday, maybe balloons. Yes, I think that you have now elevated the level of expectation, and that now it's table stakes. So you have to know that that's the way humans are. The more you give me, the more I want.
Right.
And especially high net worths and ultra high net worths. But obviously, I think that they do work. All those gestures do work, and they help you look forward to going to the Ritz-Carlton on your birthday. And while you might not have thought initially that you were going to go there, you might choose to go as a result. So I think they work to drive business. And of course, they help to drive loyalty and recommendations and referrals. So I agree that they do become sort of stable table stakes, Katie. And yet they do work, I think, to drive what we want, which is loyalty and revenue.
Definitely. It makes me think of a video that I watched yesterday by Will Gadara. He is the author of Unreasonable Hospitality. He owns 11 Madison Park in the city. And he was referencing, I guess, in his book about real estate agents and how obviously they know the most intimate deals about you, where you want to have your home, all of the essential things that you need in your home. And yet when he purchased his home, all that he found in the refrigerator was a bottle of wine and a note. And I don't necessarily think he was criticizing it, but he was saying we can do better. You know so much about me. Why not personalize to a different level? He then went on to tell a story about a real estate agent who, when was showing a home, happened to notice that there was a massive teddy bear in the property and decided to go and purchase the teddy bear for the client. So when they actually moved in on move-in day, the teddy bear was there. Funny enough, the owner of the home, the seller, actually kept the original teddy bear in the home. So now they had two. So he's going on to just share an example of how, and to that point, is the wine and the note now a standard? Is that not enough? Is it table stakes?
I think to some degree, yes. But remember, you can enhance the gesture by making sure that it is their favorite wine, that it's presented the right way, that it is appropriate as a gift, if I drink or don't drink. So there's a lot that I think real estate advisors can do to customize and to enhance the experience when they say thank you. And I think that has a lasting memory because it creates more celebration around the closing or going to the home for the first time. So it does kind of mark and stamp the experience with a beautiful gesture. And I think that always goes a long way.
Absolutely. So what this makes me think of too is that everyday ECs can be consistently done, but from our preparation and planning even for today, a lot of what came up were that extraordinary customer experiences a lot of times come from mistakes, right?
Mhm,
From great
mhm.
recoveries in different situations. And Milton, you have some excellent stories, and we've heard a lot of stories from high net worth individuals who are within our network. So I really think that this goes to show that extraordinary customer experiences can happen anywhere at any time. But I think sometimes the best of them come from the recovery opportunities.
Yes, I think the funniest story that ever happened to me was at the Ritz-Carlton. I think it was in Sarasota, where they have a beach club. So you take a little bus to go to the beach club, and then there was a sign that said pool, which pool is in that beach club area, closes at dusk. So I turned around to the young gentleman who was working for the Ritz-Carlton. I said, so what time does the pool close? And he says in a very snooty way, at dusk. And he points to the sign like, you dummy, at dusk. And so I looked at his nameplate and I said, thank you, William. I'll remember that. And then William realized that, okay, I think I made a mistake. He was a young guy. I made a mistake. So he runs to his manager, as I later found out, and he confessed that he had made a mistake. And so the manager comes over to me and says, Mr. Pedraza, William would like to say something to you. And William apologized, said, I'm sorry, Mr. Pedraza. I should have told you the exact time or an approximate time, not made you feel like you were asking a really dumb question. I'm really sorry. And so then the manager says, and Mr. Pedraza, because of the inconvenience, you will get free drinks for the rest of your stay. I'm like, it was worth it. It was really worth it. And I said, William, anytime you want to have a miss, as long as I get free drinks, I welcome it. But I told that story at an event that I did for Cadillac years later, when the Ritz-Carlton people were there as well, because they were doing a project for them and I was doing a project for them. So I told it at a big dealer meeting at the area hotel with thousands of people. And when I told the story, the Ritz-Carlton people who we know very well and are friendly with came afterwards and said, Milton, stop telling them that we give free drinks after we have a problem or a miss. You're going to make us bankrupt. But that was a really beautiful recovery with the apology and with the free drinks. They really more than made up for it. So I think that's an interesting story. That was a complete recovery that was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Recently, I went to dinner with friends of mine in Palm Beach, a restaurant that we frequent very, very often. Usually don't have any issues. When we walked in, we had a 2-year-old with us, and the hostess, I mentioned to her, we have a 2-year-old. I know that the bar or the table isn't not available yet, but would it be okay rather than us sitting at the bar? And the immediate response was no. We are not seating at tables. You can go stand at the bar, even with your 2-year-old. Okay, so we did that. I think the general manager, who has seen us in this restaurant many, many times, realized the situation and immediately came over and said, I would love to make you all more comfortable. Please come with me. I'll make sure that your table is available. We'll take care of you. Even our favorite waiter came out, said hello. We had drinks and they really made us comfortable. But I think without the, let's say, opportunity from the hostess, whether she did that out of fear or the fact that the culture just said, no, we don't make exceptions for anyone. The general manager really took it upon himself to make sure that we were comfortable, because not only did he know that we were regular clients and customers of the restaurant, but that we definitely have an influence within our network and would certainly tell the story to our network. So I think that's also something that brands know and have to consider through extraordinary customer experiences, are that when there are mistakes, when there are failures on the little things, you have to recover beautifully, because a lot of times that is where the referral and the recommendation will come from, right? Even to your point to the story, this happened, but I can't wait to go back because it was a great experience. And then now it's a funny story to share.
So let me ask you a question about that. Do you think that the general managers should have empowered the people beforehand? Is it that they didn't feel empowered? What do you think was the root cause of that failure, if you will?
I think it's twofold. One, I think there are a lot of silly rules that are embedded within cultures that, with great intention, create mistakes like that, where people feel robotic, like they cannot have any creativity to make a decision on their own because they feel fear about it. They feel that they will be punished if they don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
If I could look at it and assess the full situation, rather than even the general manager empowering the hostess, what she should have done as the hostess is said, give me one moment, I'll be right back. Go and check with the general manager and say, I have a group of people here. They also have a 2-year-old. I understand the situation, but I would love to offer them a seat. What do you think? So that way she's taking initiative, she's being creative, as opposed to immediately saying no. And now the general manager looks like the hero.
So it's interesting, Katie, because I was, as you know, traveling to teach in the automotive industry.
Mhm.
And I went to California. I will not name the hotel or the location, but this automotive company, which is prolific, iconic as a brand, brought me in to do some training, and we're doing that across the entire country. And they placed the training, all the people who were being trained, the frontline people from dealerships, in a top luxury hotel in the LA area. And I experienced there what I considered to be 3 failures within a span of 18 hours. And what I wanted from you is, tell me if I'm being too picky, too demanding, or if there really was an opportunity to do better there. And you know, you're always very honest with me, and the audience can be too. So the first one was that when I landed, I needed to rehearse my presentation. It was a beautiful day. I went to the pool and I sat on an edge in an area that's kind of a pathway to the pool. And the guy set me up, my umbrella, etc. And then about 45 minutes later, as I was well into rehearsing my presentation, my umbrella came down suddenly. It almost hit me in my little, pointy head. And I was startled. And I look up, and the gentleman, without apologizing, says, I have to move this umbrella and I have to get through. So I have to take your umbrella down to move the other umbrella for these people. No apology, no other explanation, just kept going. 5 minutes later, he does it again with no explanation, nothing, no apology. I even took a photo that I showed you, right?
Mhm.
And so I wondered if I was being too picky, or if I should have expected him to warn me in advance, maybe even apologize, and certainly the second time say, I'm sorry, I have to do this again 5 minutes later. But it's just yeah, I don't have enough space here. And he clearly didn't have enough space. But he didn't he seemed to be oblivious to sort of the emotional intelligence part of that whole experience. So that's experience number 1. Experience number 2, the next morning I went to get tea to take medicine and vitamins that I take. And there was a wagon downstairs with watering, decaf, and coffee. I take tea. I got it, went back upstairs, came back an hour later when it was time for my presentation to get another cup of tea. The water was gone. I went to the front desk because it was near the front desk, and I asked for, what happened to the water? And he said, well, we ran out of water on that vat. But if you want to go get hot water, why don't you just go buy a tea at the coffee shop that we have down here? And I felt that he could have gotten me my hot water since he saw my bag, my cup with my bag of tea ready to go. So am I just being picky, or was that a missed opportunity? And then the third one, which happened again within 18 hours, was I forgot to take this jacket. I left it in the room. I went to the Beverly Hills Hotel to meet some partners, co-investors. So it was an hour away. And then I realized I left my jacket. So I called them up and I said, I will pay for a car service if you'll just send my jacket to the Beverly Hills Hotel. And after much deliberation, 15 minutes, they came back to me and said, no, we can't do it, even if you pay for it. And that startled me, because then I had to come back and then go back. It took me 2 hours to do that. So three, what I would call experiences that I would have expected more from a top tier luxury hotel, especially one that always says they want to treat you the way they would expect to be treated. And so I thought to myself, if I had been at the Amman Hotel, this would never have happened, because we
Never.
know them very well as our clients, and we know what having conducted research, what wealthy people, high net worth and ultra say about those guys, and they are just meticulous about whatever is your challenge, large or small, they will do it, and they will do it with great humanity. So am I just being picky, you think?
Not at all. And I'll even work backwards, because your last story reminds me of a story that a high net worth client of ours recently mentioned. He was traveling in Singapore. He was going with a group of colleagues to breakfast, to an early breakfast. Apparently, last minute change. They decided to go earlier, and his alarm did not go off. So he goes downstairs. They were all supposed to get on a Mercedes van and go to this breakfast. Obviously, he did not make the bus. So what does the hotel do? They immediately ordered him a car, completely complimentary, and took him to the restaurant. Oh, and by the way, also brought him back to the hotel after breakfast. So it just makes me think, if those things do not cost a lot of money, yet can make such an impact in the moment when it's happening. And going back to even your story, you offered to pay for the car. They
Yes.
simply had to put the jacket in the vehicle and send the vehicle back. So I understand, and this is where I go back to the policies and the culture, and actually living what you say your culture is. If that truly is your culture, then stand by it, that those are your rules and you do not budge for anyone. But if you say that you want to provide customers with an extraordinary experience and that you are always willing to go above and beyond, then you should do so, particularly for your highest paying guests. Let's just be honest about that.
Yes.
If I back up to the hot water, what does hot water cost you? Nothing. It's a time, to me, that's a time and attention. You are distracting me from doing my tasks and my job, and I don't see you as important. I need to focus on what I have to do today rather than addressing the client in a better way. Or if anything, say, Mr. Pedraza, I'll take care of that for you. Take the cup from you, go and fill up the cup and bring it back.
Yes, and you know why, Katie? Because so I was obviously surprised, and I said to the young individual, so this is brand X, a luxury hotel, right? And you ran out of water, and I need to take my meds, but you can't help me. He said, that's right. And I was, okay, and by then I started getting a little upset.
Sure.
And here's the worst part. When I went into my presentation to that automotive company, during my presentation, I said, now, what do you think? Is this a missed opportunity, or am I just being picky? And they were appalled. I remember that's people who are staying at the same hotel. And so, you can't really cross people who are high net worth and ultra high net worth, because they will tell the stories. Now, I chose not to, we had 3 incidences. I chose not to tell the manager. But what I did hear from the people who I talked to was that the entire energy of that hotel was flat. It did not have that beautiful humanity, emotional intelligence, attention to detail that they had expected as well. So I think it was pervasive throughout that property. And that's not good for a brand that prides itself on serving the high net worth and the ultra high net worth, and businesses as well.
What this highlights for me, though, Milton, is the fact that we can learn so much from the missed opportunities. You can learn just as much from the great experiences as you can from the missed, because you can dissect it in a different way to say, if I had done this, what if I had done that? I'm not surprised that the client was appalled, yet it also makes you think about the fact of when you hear a story like that, or even in those three different scenarios, I would never want to create a situation like that for someone else. So again, hearing the missed opportunity, hearing the failure and the complete lack of awareness and emotional intelligence of another, it makes you really put yourself back and think, do I operate that way? Do I have do I operate out of fear? Do I operate out of my culture putting me back, or a lack of creativity? I really think that fear creates a lot of these missed opportunities, whether it's a fear of your manager, it's a fear of your culture, or it's a fear of the client in front of you.
Yes. I always tell a story about being rejected. I was walking in the city court building. I saw an older gentleman struggling with a baby carriage with a baby in it, with a stroller. And I went to help him. And he said, "Get the hell out of here." And of course, I was in shock because I was trying to help him and I was well dressed. I didn't look like somebody who was going to, abscond with the baby. I actually was working at Citibank that day. And so that was a long time ago, but I never forgot it because I think he was afraid, or he might have felt embarrassed that someone was going to help him. But whatever the reason, I never knew. I told myself that I don't want to be discouraged by being rejected from helping other people. And it was funny because so the next day I went to an interview at the Bloomberg building, and I was walking out of the, there was a young man who ran out quickly in a rush of the CVS, and the door slammed on a lady who was coming out who was in a wheelchair. And I didn't want to judge the guy because who knew what his hurry was all about, right? But so I ran to get that door, being a little afraid of what am I going to get this time. And the lady said to me, "You just made my entire day." And I said to her, "You just made my entire day, so thank you." And so that was a really positive response. And so you should never be afraid, or you should try to conquer the fear of doing some kind gesture. And you should not be ashamed, you should not be afraid, and should not deter you from another opportunity to try to help others. And so I think that we can inculcate, we can educate, we can inspire our team members, if we're good leaders, to make sure that they do the right thing at the right time when it matters, without fear. You're not going to get fired. We're not going to charge you for it. We're not going to do anything that other than praise you, because that helps to build a great business reputation.
But it's also a great lesson in the fact that there are consequences for everything you do, positive and negative. Just because you're generous and kind does not mean that that has to be reciprocated, right? That's doing something without an expectation that someone is going to do something in return for you, but doing it out of the goodness of your heart, doing it from an emotional intelligence, skilled point of view that says, I'm doing this because it genuinely makes me feel good. Even if they didn't accept it, that's okay. I have integrity and I'm with maintaining my integrity and character by executing to the best of my ability, regardless of how someone interprets it. So I think it's a really interesting lesson that I think is lost along the way a lot of times, particularly in brands and organizations, that there's a way to go above and beyond that doesn't cost a whole lot. And looking at the smaller details of life really matter. And how you make someone feel in the moment matters far more than the little tasks at hand. The tasks will get done, but how you make the person in front of you feel matters far more. There's a great quote by Nelson Mandela, and my partner and I talk about it all the time, but it's, I never lose. I either win or I learn. So rather than looking at things as a failure, oh, that person didn't accept my generosity, or that didn't go the way that I had really hoped, not looking at it as I lost or I failed, but looking at it as an opportunity to learn and then apply and immediately correct the behavior.
You know, Katie, one of the things that I find is that sometimes there are awkward moments. And so you should make the first move. I go to LA Fitness and work out almost every day, and the elevator's small. And sometimes I find that people walk in and they don't know who's going to go first to get out, right? Or who's going to go first to get in. I always yield. I always go after you. And I find that it's relieving of stress in the elevator because they know that, okay, this guy's going to be gracious. And so now we don't have to think about it. So I think there's opportunities to just take the lead, be gracious, be kind, be a good human being. You might get rejected, like, no, you first, but that rarely happens. I think that's a probability that when you do something kind, the high probability is that you'll get a good response back, even from people who are kind of rough and tough or, curmudgeons. I think the likelihood is you're going to get a good, or like when you're driving, you allow someone to go, you don't kind of, cram them. Those are ways to diffuse potential stress in the system for them and for you, and to make something work very smoothly. And so I think that obviously we want to do it as human beings, but in a business, in a luxury business, it's imperative that you do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the discussion today, Milton. As we come to a close, we want to thank you as always for listening. We'll be back with chapter 4 next week. In the meantime, we would love to hear from you, your comments, your thoughts on today's discussion. Debate us. We want your feedback. We'd love to hear it. We also invite you to share your extraordinary customer experiences with us. Again, whether you have delivered, received, or witnessed, we want to hear your story. You can contact us in the comments or reach out to Luxury Institute via luxuryinstitute.com. Milton, I'll hand you the last word.
The last word is always, until next time, we wish you good luck, but even greater skill in delivering extraordinary customer experiences. Bye-bye.